Good afternoon, everyone. I know it is 1 o'clock. We will give other folks another minute to join the meeting, and then we'll get started. All right, in the interest of everyone's time and to make sure that we have enough time at the end of our call for questions, I'm going to kick it off. I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Tricia Bloombergen. I work with our media relations team here at Consumers Energy. Also joining us today is Greg Salisbury. He is Consumers Energy's Vice President of Electric Distribution Engineering. We also have Andy Snyder with us, who is the Executive Director of Electric Operations. Before we get started on the update, I would like to provide a few key reminders. Make sure all of your lines are muted. We want to provide the most concise information, and it really helps to not be interrupted by outside noises. If you would like to ask a question, please put your name and outlet in the chat, and we will go through after the presentation those questions, and we'll call you out to ask your question and provide that answer. If you have any technical difficulties during the call, or if you have a follow-up question, please text me at 517-614-2689, and I will put that number in the chat for easy reference. And we're going to kick it off now. So to begin, Greg will give a brief status update from the last 12 hours, and as well as a look ahead at what we are preparing for. And at the end, we will have time for Q&A. So I'll turn it over to Greg to give a rundown of where we stand on the restoration front. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Tricia, and good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us for a quick update here on the restoration of our service territory subsequent to that severe weather that came through and many of you experienced along with us last night. We've been watching the threat of this weather for a few days, as we often do with our meteorology team, and as it crossed over Wisconsin and Lake Michigan, things accelerated. We anticipated the acceleration and a significant amount of straight line winds, tornadoes, and other thunderstorm related damage, in addition to hail, occurred in the overnight hours last night. We recorded some pretty severe winds outside of the tornado areas, with winds in the mid to high 70s, as well as the mid to high 60s and even high 50s across a wide swath of our territory. You can see here the wind reports that we recorded from various weather stations we use in these cities. So far, we've had one tornado outbreak. We continue to await confirmation from the National Weather Service of what we believe to be several more, maybe 5 or 6 more across our territory. It takes a little bit of time for them to fully analyze things, but we did have reports of touchdowns observed in other areas throughout the southwest part of the state, as well as Lansing and potentially also in the area between Holland and Muskegon. All the areas where we see some of the most significant damage on our outage map. Andy, you want to take us through the status by the numbers from this morning?
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg, and good afternoon, everybody. For this event, we actually planned for, we knew the weather was coming as Greg anticipated, or as Greg mentioned. We had anticipated total interruptions to be about 100,000. We actually have seen, since about 10 o'clock last night, 215,000 customers affected. We have had crews in the field immediately when the weather came through due to our pre-planning, and we've been able to restore about 10% of those customers already. We've restored 27,000 as of about 10:30 this morning. That leaves us with 187,000 off. You can see that thereabouts on the outage map. There is some work that's trickling in from limbs and things that have been falling throughout the morning. We have 70,000 or so of those jobs that are customer assigned, or those jobs assigned to crews actively working in the field. We currently have 477 line crews dispatched. 163 of those are consumers energy crews, 263 contractor crews. And as I mentioned earlier, with the escalation of the weather event, we are bringing some additional resources in today. We expect to have that number of total crews in our system to about 550 here in the next little bit. The most heavily affected areas for us, really, they're mentioned in the slide, but we're really focusing in on our critical path being the Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Hamilton, and Muskegon areas. You can kind of see those areas on the outage map. We've seen extensive damage to our facilities, damage to structures, a lot of tree damage in those areas. That's where the majority of our restoration critical path is focused right now. And subsequent to that, we have set up mobile command centers in the Battle Creek and Kalamazoo areas. And so those mobile command centers really function as our local control in the field to coordinate restoration of heavy damage in really congested areas. So those teams are out, they're deployed, and they're doing damage assessment and working to make subsequent repairs. With our plan in place, when we think about our system globally, we expect to have the majority of our customers on our consumers energy service territory restored sometime late in the evening Saturday night, which is tomorrow night. The hardest hit areas that I just mentioned, the Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, Hamilton, and Muskegon areas, those are the hardest hit areas. We anticipate we'll be able to get the majority of those customers restored no later than Sunday night in those really deep pocketed areas of damage. We are working around the clock. All these crews are on a 16 and 8 schedule, and we do have 24/7 coverage in all of our service territories across our area. And I think we have some additional weather that we're monitoring. Greg, if you could cover that with the group, that'd be great.
I will jump into that. We do have more weather coming in across the territory tonight. So we have a possibility of severe thunderstorms again, with winds potentially in the 60-mile-an-hour range and hail as well. The key risk time is tonight between about 8 p.m. and 1 a.m. tomorrow. We're also tracking the potential of tornadoes, again, a low percentage, but non-zero possibility of tornadoes across the southern tier of counties in the overnight hours, as well as a little bit higher possibility of severe wind outlook covering nearly the entire lower peninsula. So we're encouraging people to remain vigilant and be ready to stay safe during another round of severe weather. Andy mentioned that we're securing additional crews and making sure we have sufficient materials staged to be ready to restore whatever additional damage may come over the overnight hours tonight. Another way we look at this is through the accumulation of highest wind gusts. And so you can see a view here of the worst case winds in pockets across the lower peninsula through the night tonight, as well as the most likely case, which still shows some significant pockets of high winds, but a little bit less severe. So we will be bringing in extra crews to handle the additional damage while we focus on finishing repairs on the damage that we're working on now. And a few things that we like to remind people of at times like this. We restore in order of priority. We start with our critical customers, and that would be hospitals, nursing homes, police and fire locations, communications towers and locations, those things that are either extra fragile groups of people or critical infrastructure for communities to return to normal functioning. After that, we go through our priority customer list, which would be the businesses and schools that are equally necessary for communities to return to normal. Our intention is to work really hard to have all the schools open for Monday morning. And we know that's a huge part of getting life back to normal, even in these areas that it's going to take a few days to clean up all the trees and the debris once power is restored. We also like to remind people, if they choose to use a generator, please be sure to disconnect their house from the grid so that we don't create a backflow of electricity that puts our crews at risk. We ask people to pay attention to our traffic control signage and remember to slow down and go around. Our crews are focused on the risk of working with electrical power, the risk of stored energy in tree limbs and trees and other things that are up against the lines and poles, and keeping themselves safe. And so we really need help with customers and community members driving safely around our crews. And finally, as always, please remind people to treat every downed wire as a live wire, and call us and let us know about it if we don't have somebody there already. And we'll put that on our list of priority locations to get out to and secure those wires. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tricia for any further questions.
Thank you, Greg and Andy. Thank you for those updates. I don't see any questions in the chat, so if folks have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question directly.
Hi there, it's Rachel Ramsey with 6 News. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Just a quick question, severity-wise, throughout your guys' career, what would you say where this falls regarding the severeness?
Rachel, this one is quite severe for this early in the season. This type of pattern is typically associated more with the heat of summer, and so it's not something that we can't prepare for, but it's a little bit earlier than we might anticipate it. So it was pretty severe. When we see those straight line winds in the high 70s and multiple tornadoes likely to be confirmed, you may have seen on social media and other places pictures of very large trees that have just been uprooted and structures that are damaged. This one's been pretty severe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Any other questions for Greg or Andy? Hearing none, before we close, I just have a few reminders. We have a few ways to receive updates regarding the storms, especially considering that we are anticipating another round of storms. First, we're always available via our media line. You can call us at 1-800-557-4625, and I will put that number in the chat as well. 24/7, you can reach one of us. You can reach the latest information on outages via our website. So go ahead and check out consumersenergy.com/outage center, or our regularly scheduled news releases, which during the week we publish 6 a.m., 11 a.m., 4 p.m., and 9 p.m. So please expect 2 more releases this evening with more updates. If there are no more questions, I will conclude the press event and we can follow up via email. Okay, hearing none. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and please stay safe out there. Don't hesitate to reach out if we can provide any other updates. Thank you, Greg and Andy, for the information, and that concludes this call.